Yo, rep, I was hitting this guy and he had like his toenail out, man, at 50 feet, and I swear to God, I was peppering him with BBs, dude, and this guy was not calling his hits whatsoever.
So, hit calling, cheaters, and you. How to kind of fix these issues in Airsoft. I'm sure you guys have been on YouTube and have seen the millions of videos of people starting fights and all that crazy stuff on whatever Airsoft field they're filming at, and you know, you've been to a field and you have an experience where someone's cheating or the game's not really going your way. It sucks, I know, it's a very universal experience in our sport. This video might be a bit controversial because we're going to be tackling these issues from more of a accountability and structural standpoint versus something like, oh, if you see someone cheating, just shoot them full auto or pepper them with BBs and stuff like that. Those things can kind of fix the micro issues, so if there's a situation at hand, you can fix that issue, but I don't think those things really deal with kind of the overall causation of those things. It's kind of like, you know, especially here in Canada, banning Airsoft to solve violent crime issues. Sure, it might solve something, but it's a band-aid fix to ultimately a very large and very complicated problem. To kind of understand the perspective about cheating in Airsoft, you have to understand that we're trying to prevent cheating and create a better culture of players in a system where things are kind of imperfect. BBs don't have amazing ballistics, they have travel time, they're affected by paper or leaves on a tree. For example, once I went to an outdoor game and some guy was shooting his tracer machine gun into a bush and he was complaining that the guy wasn't calling hits. I was near the bush and these BBs were bouncing around like lasers in a mirror room. So unlike a video game or in real life where the bullet in the video game or the bullet in real life is very much designed to do something to you, whether it be coded or whether you're going to have a very bad day in the hospital or the morgue, Airsoft BBs don't really do too much other than leave a little welt on your body. The difference between a video game and Airsoft is that you, as a player, has to decide what happens when a BB strikes you. We're not really seeking to stop cheaters or to make sure we live in a cheat-free world that's very idealistic. What we are trying to do, however, is create a healthier Airsoft community and a more accountable and cognizant Airsofter. Here at Siege, we have kind of what we call the layers of concern or the pyramid of priority or whatever the referees decide to call it. The first thing you want to worry about is yourself. Be accountable for yourself, make sure your gun is zeroed, make sure you know where you're getting hit, make sure you prioritize being an honest player. The second thing is going to be prioritizing your team. So making sure your teammates call hit, making sure if somebody is cheating on your team, you let the referee know, all that stuff. And the third and final thing is going to be the enemy team. Kind of the way that we see it is if both teams are cheating, one team saying this team is cheating, one team saying the other team is cheating, then the game is fair because everybody's equally cheating. Obviously, that's not really the way Airsoft works, but this kind of layer of priority really creates a system of accountability and creates a healthier culture and mindset around Airsoft. If everybody on the field is more accountable for themselves and their group of people, then there's going to be no issues with cheating. If we're able to create a culture where that is the norm, not just something that is accepted or something that has to be pushed, then everybody will have a much better experience at our field and at any field that you decide to play Airsoft at. The topic that we're going to be covering today is not how to stop cheating, it's going to be you. And that doesn't mean that you're a cheater or you're a bad player or something like that. It means what can you do to create a more accountable and healthier environment for Airsoft. So one of my biggest pet peeves on the field, and at Milsims I've seen and at a lot of games, is going to be this guy.
Yo, you're gonna call that dude? Yo, are you gonna call that dude? Yo, are you gonna, dude, what's your number? I actually want to give you a call.
You're always gonna see the person on the field that complains about cheating, that is using honesty as a very virtue kind of thing, that they go on their high horse and they talk about how honest they are, how they've never cheated in their life, and how the ref should trust them because they don't cheat and all that stuff. That's fantastic, but honesty in Airsoft is not a virtue, which is going to be the first point. Honesty isn't a virtue, guys. It's the bare minimum. Airsoft cannot function if people aren't honest, if people aren't honorable in the game. Bragging about your honesty in Airsoft is kind of like bragging about not stealing from your mom who drives you to the Airsoft game. Or, you know, for you non-Airsofters out there, not cheating on your partner. Like I said, honesty is the bare minimum. It's not a virtue. Without that as the base of this sport, it will not work. So, honesty isn't a virtue, guys. It's a minimum. That's number one. Number 2 is going to be just making sure everybody tries their best and you try your best to be honest. I'll admit, I have had cases where somebody on the other side of the field shooting at me has probably seen me as a cheater, and I'm pretty sure everybody has had that experience. And if you've been there, you know how kind of crappy it feels to be called out on it. And usually when you're called out on it, it's because you're not intentionally doing it. So one incident that I could remember where perhaps my honesty was put into question was when a fellow employee was playing against me in a game at Siege. I was by the ref tower, I was crouched down, and I had kind of a bigger helmet at the time. He was shooting the top of my helmet, and because there was so many BBs going around me, I couldn't feel it, and that sucked. And he was calling me out on it, saying like, dude, I shot you like 3 or 4 times on the helmet, you know, why didn't you do this, why didn't you do that? And obviously I don't think of myself as a cheater, I think of myself as I try my best to be honest, but you know, he saw me as a cheater. That's okay. For me, I took that as something of a learning point. Instead of wearing a big tall helmet, I got myself a smaller bump helmet, and that really helped. So that's one thing, is to be aware that everybody's trying their best. Of course, that gets to my third point, which is being aware of yourself on the field and being accountable for your own actions. So when you're out there on the field, make sure that you're not wearing too much stuff that will prevent you from feeling the hit, which is a big thing. There are a lot of people that scream, you know, I didn't feel it, you know.
I'm hitting you, man. Yo, bro, I get so mad, dude. I don't feel it, bro. I'm wearing all this stuff. I don't feel it, dude.
It's like, okay, that's great. You're just announcing to me that, you know, you're wrong, or you are not being very aware of your kit and where you're getting hit from. That's a big thing. If you're wearing too much kit that prevents you from feeling your hits, I went over this in the chest rig video. If you're coming on the field like the Michelin Man and you're not being aware of that, get rid of it, get lighter kit. That's on you to be accountable for other players to give them a good experience. This also goes into your gun. So of course I have my gun here. You want to make sure that your gun is shooting straight, that you know how it operates, that you know how it shoots. There's a lot of the times at Siege where people will call each other out for cheating and not know what a hop-up is, not know what a zero is, and not know what, you know, a flashlight does or tracers do and how it can help them. All of these tools are for aiming and making sure that you're hitting what you're shooting. So if somebody calls someone out for cheating, that's pretty much the most serious accusation at an airsoft field outside of any criminal activity, of course. It's basically saying that you are affecting the game cannot work because of your behavior. So what sometimes we'll do is we'll take them out on the range and see if they can shoot a static target at approximately the same distance.
Yo, rep, I was hitting this guy and he had like his toenail out, man, at 50 feet, and I swear to God, I was peppering him with BBs, dude. And this guy was not calling his hits whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I was hit checking him when you were calling it out on the field, but it seemed like things were fine. But let's take you to the range and we'll see if you're going shooting straight just to make sure.
All right, ref, I'll show you. So, see that green target over there, that plate? Well, that guy was like, he was like at least twice as far. And he was like, yo, I hit him, all right? My dot was right on him. So watch this, I don't miss. Well, the gun zeroed for 200 feet, so, you know, these close range targets, like, they're kind of hard to hit. Like, my dot was right on them, though, and I just bought this red dot the other day, so I know it's good because it's new.
The reason we do that is to audit the gun and the player to make sure that they actually know what they're hitting and they're capable of hitting something. If they can't hit a static target at 25 feet, 50 feet, then it starts to make us kind of question the validity of their claims, whether they're cheating or not. So if you come to the chronograph and we have to turn off your hop to 0, or you don't know what zeroing is, ask someone who knows. We do have a guide for that on YouTube. So make sure that you watch that video, you look at other videos about zeroing your gun, about the distances, holdovers and stuff like that, making sure you know where your gun is shooting, you know where your BBs are going, because just saying your dot is on them or your babies are going a certain way or something like that isn't enough when you don't know how to do those things. So that's really important, is to make sure that you know your kit and you're squared away with your gun, so that way you know where you're shooting. And that goes into point number 4, which is picking your shots, being aware of the location where you're shooting people from, and not putting yourself in a gunfight in a situation where it gets very ambiguous with cheating and trades and stuff like that. Most of the times, problems with hit calling and cheating, from what we've noticed at the field, and we work here and we've seen hundreds and hundreds of games, so that our sample size is relatively large, is not with flanks or with what we call shootings, where one person is shooting another person and the other person doesn't have the opportunity to return fire. They happen in gunfights. So what that means is that you're shooting at each other, you're trading whatever, you're weaving in and out like a sewing needle, and you're not sure what's going on there. You don't really have a good amount of time to process information about what's going on. Don't put yourself in that situation if you don't have to. If you're shooting someone and you're not sure if they're calling it, just move on from that location instead of being married to that spot. You might not actually be hitting them. They might not actually be hitting you. It's best just to move, find a different angle, or find someone else to shoot. Somebody else will take care of it as long as you have a good teammate, and that will take care of the problem. That goes into point number 5, which is getting to know the community and the players around you. And this is really important, especially in Canada right now, as we're fighting C21, links to that down below. However, you might notice something when you play Airsoft, is that the regulars seem to always be cheating, or these guys are friends, but when I play with my friends, nothing bad ever happens. We're always honest if I play with people I know. The solution to that is to get to know everybody, honestly, and become the regular. The reason that is because they're not usually cheating, they're not usually this, there's just a disconnect between what you're owed and what you owe them. When there isn't a sense of community at the field you're playing at, people are going to feel like they're owed an experience from someone, they're owed this from that one, they're owed this from that one. The way that I see Airsoft is that Airsoft is a restaurant where everybody serves each other the food. So you gotta serve them nice food, they gotta serve you nice food, and it's a big happy potluck of BBs. Point number 6 is going to be looking at Airsoft from a more critical lens, and not from the perspective of winning or losing. Most Airsoft games are just pickup games. There's nothing really to be won. Nobody's dying. You're not going, blasting down a village or changing geopolitics or anything like that. Don't treat it like you're winning or losing. Treat it like you're winning or you're learning. And that sounds super TED Talky, but it's really important. And one thing I do to reinforce myself with this is when I say hit, I say nice shot. Those two little words of nice shot can reinforce the fact for the enemy player that shot you, they worked hard to get their shot, just like you would work hard to get, your frags in Airsoft. So reinforce that for them, they feel nice about it, and then when you shoot them, hopefully they say the same thing and create that environment of winning or learning. And by learning, I mean when you do get fragged out in Airsoft, don't think about it as, I'm so mad I got killed, or my team sucks, or all that stuff. Use that as an experience to look at what that person did right, and look at what that person did to get you out. Go get them back, and be critical about it. And of course, the last thing is gonna be just let things go.
God, bro, so many cheaters in this field, man. God, I'm gonna go home. I paid for the whole day, but kid, so many cheaters, man.
Everybody has bad days and great days at Airsoft. Sometimes I come play at Siege and I'm just killing it. I'm the person there that's, making the difference on the team. Whatever team I'm on is going to be the winning team. Everybody knows what that feels like. It's an awesome feeling. And some days you're going to have a horrible day. Some days I play on the field and I just can't stop getting fragged. I just can't stop making stupid mistakes. It's just like life. You got good days and bad days. The most important thing is to let those days go. Don't let a cheater or someone who's doing something live rent-free in your head. Maybe show them this video, tell them how they can change, all that stuff. But don't let them live rent-free in your head. Don't let them ruin your experience, because now that is totally on you. Games at Siege, most Airsoft games are pickup games, 15, 20, 30 minutes long, an hour long, whatever. If you're gonna let one experience ruin the entire day for you when you drove out here to do this and that and this and that, you're kind of letting that happen for you. So just let it go. It's not a big deal. People are here, just have fun, and don't let that saltiness kind of carry you into the ground. To sum it all up, Airsoft is a community sport. You can go shoot targets all you want and dry fire all you want. That's super important. However, if you're doing force on force, there's going to be a certain level of experience that people owe you and that you ultimately owe other people. be accountable, be critical about your place in the field, and treat Airsoft as something that you can learn from, as something that you can build your skill on. Just because you have the Gucciest gun or just because you have the crappiest gun doesn't mean your virtue by being crappy and you're owed an experience, or your virtue by being amazing and everybody owes you to treat you like a god or something like that. It doesn't work like that, everybody. Airsoft needs to change. People need to be more accountable for themselves. People need to realize that everybody has a place on the field and we're all part of this community together. That being said, I hope you guys stay safe out there. Remember, the fight against C21 still continues. The links are down below to save Airsoft in Canada. Stay safe out there, everybody. We hope to see you soon on the field. And remember, let's make Airsoft great together as a community. Spread the love, spread the joy, all that good stuff. Catch you on the next one, everybody.